Welcome, 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 welcome. Thank you all so much. We're going to go ahead and get started here. My name is Jermaine Hampton. I'm the Vice President of Workforce Development and Strategic Initiatives with the LAEDC, and welcome to the LAEDC Future Forum, the impact of the CSU5. So first off, I want to extend an appreciation to our partners and guests who made today possible. A special thank you to, obviously, Junior Achievement Southern California and Dr. Les McCabe for hosting us in this fantastic space. The presidents of the CSU5 campuses, Cal State Dominguez Hills, okay. Cal State Long Beach, Cal State LA, Cal State Poly Pomona, and then our lead sponsor for this particular convening here today, Cal State Northridge. And then also special thank you to the California State University Chancellor's Office for its continued leadership and partnership as well. So we're honored to have you all here today. I also want to acknowledge any elected officials who may be here today as well. Please stand if there's any here yet. Not sure, okay. They're on their way, I suppose. Also our industry leaders, education partners, community organizations, and civic leaders in the room as well. LA thrives because of partnerships like these. So without further ado, it's now my pleasure to welcome Executive Board Member of the LAEDC, I gotta throw that one in there, and also the President and CEO of Junior Achievement Southern California. Under his leadership, Dr. Les McCabe, JL SoCal serves more than 52,000 students each year across Los Angeles, Orange County, and Inland Empire, providing hands-on learning in financial literacy, workforce readiness, and entrepreneurship, primarily supporting students from low to moderate income communities. Dr. McCabe has helped expand innovative programs such as JA Finance Park, and it's now leading the development of JA Dream Accelerator, an immersive career exploration center designed to prepare students for the future of work and high-growth industries. We're grateful to Dr. McCabe and the entire JA SoCal team for hosting us today and for their ongoing commitment to advancing economic mobility and workforce opportunity for young people across the region. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Les McCabe.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you here at the Junior Achievement of Southern California for this LAEDC Future Forum. I want to thank Stephen, of course, Jermaine, and the entire LAEDC team for bringing together such an important conversation, especially at a time in which the connection between education, the workforce, and economic mobility has been more critical. Jermaine said a little bit about junior achievement. Just to add to that, if you're not familiar, we've been serving this region for over 70 years. In fact, I think this is our 72nd year, with a simple but powerful mission, which essentially is to help young people prepare for success in the real world. As Jermaine mentioned, we serve more than 52,000 students each year through programs focused on financial literacy, career readiness, and entrepreneurship. The space you're in today, this building, this 33,000 square foot building, houses our Finance Park simulation facility where students step into their future adult lives by managing a budget, making career-based financial decisions, and really experiencing what it means to be financially independent. This morning, you may have noticed with the parking attendants in the midst of all of that and trying to get cars around some school buses. Well, that's because inside, just outside of this room, we're currently hosting 70 students from Audubon Middle School in Crenshaw, along with volunteer mentors from Everbank, Bank of Hope, and Poppy Bank. These students that you may come across later have spent the past several weeks learning about financial literacy in the classroom, and today is their culminating experience here in our Finance Park. While we're talking about the future of education and workforce systems in this room, the students down the hall, right down the hall, are actively building those skills in real time. And that work is only becoming more important, as many of you know, given the recent passage in California of having a required personal finance course starting in 2027. What makes today's forum especially meaningful for us is how closely it aligns with what we do here every single day. At Junior Achievement, we sit right at the intersection of education and workforce development. We're helping students understand how money works, explore career pathways, and build confidence and develop employability skills. And importantly, probably most importantly, we're helping these students to start to see themselves, to begin to understand where they fit and to see themselves in the future economy that you're all helping to build. Looking ahead, we're taking that work even further. As Jermaine mentioned, we're super excited that in 2027, thanks to a generous grant from Delta Airlines and others, our current training facility will be converted into a new experiential learning center called the JA Dream Accelerator. This will be a fully immersive career exploration experience where students can step into industries like technology, healthcare, media, and other high-growth sectors and actually experience what those careers look like live in a very high-touch, high-tech environment. The Dream Accelerator is really about connecting the dots for youth, connecting those dots early between education, career pathways, and opportunities. And in many ways, it complements the work of the California State University system by helping to create a stronger pipeline to higher education and meaningful careers. At the end of the day, we're here to prepare the future workforce of Los Angeles. K through 12, higher ed, the business community, and nonprofits, we all have a role to play. And that's why today's conversations are so very important. I'll close with a couple quick invitations. First and foremost, if you have time afterwards, I encourage you to stop by and take a look in our Finance Park facility once the students are wrapped up. It's really worth seeing firsthand. And for those of you from both the business and education communities, we'd love to explore ways to partner with you, whether through volunteering, collaboration, or as we bring the Dream Accelerator to life. So thank you again for being here and for the work you're doing to shape the future of this region. And with that, I'll turn it back over to the LAEDC team. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. McCabe. Give him another round of applause, please. And so now it's my honor to introduce our keynote speaker for today. We hit off real good because he's a fellow Detroit native like myself, and so we talked a little bit about sports there in the lobby. Lee Zeidman. Lee recently retired as president of Crypto.com Arena, Peacock Theater, and LA Live, where he oversaw operations for one of the most iconic sports and entertainment districts in the world. During his tenure, the venues hosted 7 NBA finals, 2 Stanley Cup finals, and 5 WNBA finals, with multiple championships won by our hometown teams. Over a remarkable 45-year career, Lee opened multiple venues and oversaw more than 6,500 major events, helping shape Los Angeles into a global destination for sports, entertainment, and live experiences. Lee is a Detroit native from Michigan and a graduate of Cal State University Northridge. And Lee currently resides in Venice, California. Please join me in welcoming Lee.
Thank you very much. This is really an honor to be here today. And all that stuff that Jermaine said, it just means I'm old and I saw a lot and I was fortunate enough to do a lot. But it has been a pretty remarkable career. And I only have, I'm not sure if this is a keynote or if it's a key or if it's a note speech. I only have a certain amount of time. So I'm going to put a timer out here, and I'm going to time myself so I don't go too far over, because there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about. I want to talk about my career, how I got to where I'm at. I want to talk about what I think some of the life lessons I learned that helped me professionally, that can help you as professionals, that can help the students as well, and the students you work with. I want to talk a little bit about where the city is going as it relates to the big events we're going to be doing here in 26 with the World Cup, 27 with the Super Bowl, and 28 with LA 28 in the Olympics. I want to talk a little bit about what Cal State Northridge meant to me and how I got here. So I'm going to kick it right off right now. I'm going to move right in, and it's going to be pretty quick, pretty fast. So fasten your seatbelts, and I'm just going to riff and go. I could tell stories all day long, obviously, based on what I've been through. And most of my stories take more than 15 minutes because of some of the things I got to do, which I was very fortunate of. But it started at Cal State Northridge. I was a psychology major. I wanted to be a marriage counselor, but after playing sports my first year, football and baseball, I realized that I wasn't going to be a professional baseball player and I needed to figure something out quickly. My grades weren't big enough when I was done with, or good enough when I was done at Cal State Northridge with my psychology degree, so I couldn't get into a grad school, so I had to pivot and figure out what I was going to do next. I was living in Simi Valley, working at a bowling alley, coordinating the leagues there, and I wasn't ready to leave CSUN, so I walked over to the recreation department, and this was way before that they had recreation degrees, that they had degrees that were in sports management, hospitality, and tourism. And so I worked with a couple of professors there, and they designed a program for me in commercial recreation. My first job at the student center there at Cal State Northridge was passing out backpacks, sleeping bags, and tents. Obviously not what I really wanted to do. No offense to those of you who camp a lot, but I didn't see myself as that kind of outdoorsman. So after a failed career doing that, I said, what is next? What can I do here? There happened to be an on-campus pub, and they said, we're looking for someone who would book the entertainment there. Are you interested in doing that? And I said, shit, I never booked any entertainment in my entire life before. I coordinated leagues at a bowling alley, but I'll do it. And so I created what was then called Wednesday Night Live at Cal State Northridge at the pub, which was a 40,000 person commuter school, which made the pub the center of the campus back in 1980. From that, it was so successful that we did Thursday night jazz, we did Tuesday night comedy, we did Monday night football, and then we sobered up and rested on the weekends, because that's what we did back then. Once I was done with my degree in commercial recreation, I was fortunate enough to work with the people who ran the student center there at CSUN, and they offered me the first full-time job of my career as program coordinator at Cal State Northridge, overseeing concerts, programs, things of that, working with the organization was called Space, working with the students and helping them do events. I did that for a year, and then I was hired by Associated Students UCLA, and I was very excited because I thought I made it, and I wanted never to leave UCLA. I wanted to stay in education, student centers, because as I got older, the students always stayed the same age, so it kept me young, and it was a great environment, as most of you here know, that work at the universities. So I was at UCLA, and a job came open to run the student center there, and that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to end my career at UCLA, and I was in my early 30s, and I got passed over for that job. Lesson number one, always have a backup plan. I did not have a backup plan, and there I was, passed over for the job that I thought I was ready for and that I wanted. So I needed to pivot. So I started applying for everything and anything, and I was hired by UC Santa Barbara to run their operations at the USEN, and my first kind of big break, overseeing a 6,000 seat event center on campus. So I was there. Met my boss a few times before during the interview process, and then realized that he's never gonna leave. And so I was going to be the number 2 guy there if I wanted to stay there the entire life. It was back then the UC system froze, the state of California froze the wages, and even in the 80s, it cost a lot of money to live in Santa Barbara, and I needed to figure out what I was gonna do. Again, I started applying for everything and anything, and after 2.5 years, I was selected by a company called Ogden Entertainment, Facility Management, and those of you who are looking to get into facility management, venue management, there are a few of them out there, Oakview Group, Legends, Venue Next, Venues Now. There's a lot of these companies that actually manage venues all across the country that students that you work with should be fed to these organizations, because that's the future. And when I was running what I ran, we always leaned on the universities to actually provide interviewees for us when we used to do our job fairs. So I went down there, talked with the Ogden people, and the job was overseeing high-rises in downtown Los Angeles with the cleaning crews. Not what I wanted to do. They had a division that ran the Forum in Inglewood, where the Lakers and Magic and Kareem and Worthy and Showtime and Riley was the coach, were going for their three-peat. They had the Kingdome, which was imploded in Seattle. They had a couple other venues that they also had across the country. And I said, this is really what I would like to do. And I said, if you could send my resume over to those guys, it would be fantastic. And they said, we'll do one better, we'll walk it over. So they did. 8 weeks later, I got another call from Ogden, and they said, well, we have something that you may be interested in. Would you like to drive back down? And I did. And I sat with a couple of guys, and I said, so what is the job? And they said, well, it's Director of Operations at the Forum. Are you interested? And they were going for the three-peat. Wayne Gretzky, those of you who understand hockey, was just signed by Bruce McNall and the Kings. So the Forum was literally the place to be for sport and entertainment in Southern California. I said, absolutely. I said, how many people are you interviewing? They said, well, you're the only one. And I said, wow, I'm thinking to myself, the only way I don't get this job is if I mess it up. And so they said if we would have put an ad out, everybody and their brother connected to any type of facility would have applied for it. So went great. I drove back up. They said, would you come back down next week and meet with our senior VP who's flying in from Florida, and he'll bless you and then we'll send you over to the Forum. I said, sure. Drove back down, met with him. He'd just gotten off a red eye. And he goes, well, you're one of three. And I'm thinking, one of three? What happened in 1 week? And what am I going to tell my family and my friends and everything? And he goes, well, a couple of them have MBAs out of Arizona and Florida. And I didn't have an MBA. I had a BS and a BA from CSUN. And he goes, I'm not saying you're not going to get it, but, I'm looking for people that are going to really chart some big sports and entertainment transactions. And so some more small talk, and we talked about some of the other facilities. Said, would you like to go potentially start at one in Las Cruces, New Mexico, one in Ames, Iowa? And I said, I'm really kind of a Southern California guy. I'm not really sure I want to leave Southern California, but I guess it would really make a difference what the job was. A little bit more talk, a little bit more stuff. I'm not saying you're not the guy. I'm not saying you are the guy. I'm really happy with the other two. And so I'm thinking to myself, I don't know what I'm going to tell people, but at this point in this 40-minute interview, I'm not getting this job. And I thought I was a lock. So lesson number 2, and I tell people this, either you're a young professional, a seasoned professional, or a student. Ask questions. It doesn't make a difference if you're talking to a president, you're talking to somebody that runs a corporation or a team or a venue or a university. Ask questions, because that's how you get educated. So he said to me, he goes, well, we're going to wrap up now, but I want to give you the opportunity to ask me a question, because you're eventually going to get in the car and you're going to think, man, why didn't I ask him this? Why didn't I ask him that? And he said, do you have one question? And I said, I just have one question. And he goes, well, what is it? And I go, I thought this was a director of operations position. Based on your questions in this interview, it looks like you're looking for a director of finance. He looks down at my resume, he goes, oh my God. He goes, I've been interviewing you for the director of finance this entire time because we're hiring that position too. He goes, of course you're qualified. I'm going to send this to Claire Rothman at the Forum with the endorsement that she should hire you. So I want you to come back next week. I went back. The next week, they hired me on the spot. I left Santa Barbara in 2 weeks. I was at the Forum for 10 years, working for Dr. Buss and Jeannie Buss and the Buss family. And then in 98, I was the first person hired for Staples Center and moved downtown. Now, if I didn't ask that question, I'm convinced I wouldn't be here talking to you guys. So, what did I learn from my degree at CSUN? My degree's there. I learned how to ask questions. I learned how to make decisions. I learned how to communicate, both listening and talking. And I learned how to deal with business leaders such as yourselves and local government, such as what I dealt with when I was part of the team that built. Back then it was Home Depot Center, now it's Dignity Health Sports Park. I ran that for 3 years with Staples Center as part of my portfolio when we first opened in the early 2000s. How to deal with city government, how to deal with local law enforcement. It was different in Dominguez Hills. I believe a much better city council. The university was great to work with, those of you here from Dominguez Hills. And I worked with sheriffs versus LAPD when I was in Carson versus LAPD in downtown. Completely different environments. So I had to learn how to deal with all of that stuff. And psychology at Northridge and my recreation degree got me all that kind of experience, that and how to put on big events, because I was fortunate enough to work on some of the biggest and the best events in the world. Championships, big parades, the Grammy. We did 22 Grammy Awards, Democratic National Convention. The X Games for all those years, and we did it down at Home Depot Center. We had the San Diego Chargers before they even moved there for their 3 seasons. They did a training camp there, the tennis tournaments down there. So I was fortunate enough and lucky enough to be in the right place and to do all that kind of coordination and events. So That's what Northridge taught me. I'm a huge fan of the CSU system. I'm a big fan of colleges and universities. I love coming back and talking to people such as yourselves as students, because after 45 years and retiring October 31st and going to be turning 71 July 4th, it's time to give back. I don't need to go out and have a next chapter. I don't need a resume builder. I'm ready to just give back, and I'm going to tell you a couple things that I believe that you all should be doing. There are certain organizations and certain groups that I think that you should reach out to help the students get in front of these people. There is LA Sports and Entertainment Commission, who does all the big events now and brings them. Kathy Schlossman, a good friend of mine. They're doing a big career development day coming up, I think, in a month. Good opportunity for you who work with students to get in front of them. Good opportunity for professionals to talk to that group. There's a couple publications that I think you should be involved in if you want to be in the sports and entertainment industry, such as myself, or counsel students who want to get into it. Polestar magazine does big conventions. There's the concert industry. Sports Business Journal does everything as it relates to everything you want to know about sports business world. Doesn't make a difference if you're a team or an agency, finance, operations, event. They're very huge in our business, kind of like the Bible of our business. Billboard magazine deals with artists and agents and those type of things for your students who want to get into that kind of environment. So I encourage you to reach out to those organizations, help those students reach out to those organizations. There are so many teams, professional teams and college teams that play in this city, play in Southern California, that you should be making contacts with and reaching out so you can help the students get their foot in the door. My second lesson is, once you get that foot in the door, become a sponge. I'll never forget my first night working at the Forum. We had a hockey game. And with hockey, as you know, there's a sheet of ice. And so I'm standing there. I was wearing a thin sport coat with thin Italian leather shoes. And one of the things I wish I'd told my older self, my younger self back then, was wear soft-soled shoes. Everybody wears those now. I didn't. I wore Johnson & Murphy hard-soled shoes when I walked all those concrete floors and opened up all those venues. And last year I had 2 hips and a knee replaced. And it wasn't because of bad genetics. It was because I worked 6,500 events and opened up all those venues. I wished I would have wore soft-soled shoes that everybody wears now. That said, I'm standing there freezing my butt off next to the ice, and I'm thinking, you know, this is my first night here. This is pretty cool, but I have no idea where that ice came from. I have no idea how to maintain it, and I have no idea where it goes after this game, and now I'm responsible for it. So I became a sponge. The next 40 days and nights, I learned everything I possibly could. So you should be telling your students, once they get a foot in the door, to learn everything that they possibly can about that organization, because there are going to be times when that organization is going to promote from within, such as we did when AEG was first founded. And it's a great opportunity for them to learn all of that stuff. So my message is, get involved. Ask questions and make decisions. The biggest thing that I think that I pride myself on, I made decisions. I made hard decisions. I had 1,700 part-time people reporting up through me, over 250 full-time people. I only had to make decisions when they were tough decisions, but somebody had to make them, because I was blessed with great team members and great staff. I had probably my 11 senior VPs that worked for me, stayed with me anywhere from 18 to 22 years throughout my career. And it doesn't happen because I'm such a great guy. It happened because we were a good company, you know, it was Southern California, we had great venues, and I let them grow and I took care of them. And you as managers and you as administrators, never doubt the fact that some of the people that are under you are ready for the next step. Listen to them, gauge the climate, and look for ways to push them in there. Almost out of time, but I'm going to keep going for a couple more minutes. And so you need to get involved, and you need to help them, and you need to talk to these various organizations, because I believe that's the future. So what does that mean for the economic development of LA, the county of Los Angeles? Listen, Staples Center revitalized downtown Los Angeles. It's probably my biggest accomplishment that I was part of that group of men and women that revitalized a major city. Back in 1999 in October when we opened Staples Center, nobody came downtown. You rolled up the carpets and everybody left, and it was a ghost town. We changed all that. LA Live changed it even further. All the stuff that had built around there changed a lot of that. Now, did it change back for the For the not so good when COVID hit, of course it did. The whole world changed. We all know that. I'm concerned about where downtown Los Angeles is now as somebody who's spent 28 years down there. We've got a lot of work to do. I'm not going to be political here, but we have a lot of work to do in terms of cleaning it up, making it safer for the World Cup, for the Super Bowl coming back to Inglewood. And somebody who spent 10 years of their life in Inglewood as well, I understand that city too. And then when the big one comes, LA28, which is going to be huge. And it's going to take everybody that lives in Southern California to keep them off the freeways. Back when I was at UCLA in '84, nobody drove, and it was a ghost town. And it was probably one of the greatest accomplishments, transportation. So I think that we all need to get involved. We're all going to need to pitch in. There's going to be potentially the same or a new mayor. There's going to be a different city council. There are going to be different boards of supervisors in the county. There's going to be an executive director of the board of supervisors at some point. So the political landscape's going to change, and there'll be a new governor of the state of California. And I don't have to get into how the federal government feels about California, and we need the federal government to help us with safety and security and funding for transportation and all those things for all these big events. So get involved. Reach out, do your research, work with these students, get them in front of people such as myself, help them develop their career. And I will tell you this, make sure they understand that once they get that degree, nobody's going to come knocking on your door and say, hey, I got a $150,000 a year job for you, come on over. Just doesn't happen. Didn't happen back when I was graduating, and it doesn't happen now. You need to work for it. And you need to tell them that sending resumes to an HR department or to a blind organization, that doesn't work. You need to figure out who's actually doing the hiring. You as administrators and you as people who work with these students can help them figure out who's doing the hiring. Do the research. Do an informational interview. Go to conferences. Get your name out there and do all of those things. So in closing, I want to thank you all for having me here today. It's really an honor to speak in front of educators and professional people that run all these organizations that I've worked with over my 45-year career, and people that I admire and respect for what you do and what you do for those students. Because, 45 years ago, I was sitting in an audience like this trying to figure out what the hell I was going to do with my life. And fortunately, it worked out pretty damn well for me. And I'm very excited about being retired. As I told some people earlier, I now belong to the Ever Club, where I will do whatever, whenever, wherever, however, and with whoever I want to do for the rest of my life. So, to close, I hope all of you get the ultimate opportunity to retire like I did. And not everybody does. I was fortunate enough to be able to retire when I wanted, how I wanted, and from where I wanted. Nobody tapped me on the shoulder and said, we're downsizing. Nobody tapped me on the shoulder and said, we're going to go younger. Nobody tapped me on the shoulder and said, we're going in a different direction. And so I pride myself on that, but it took a lot of hard work over those 45 years. And I think with your encouragement and your help, you're going to find the students that are going to want to do that. Now, I'm not an advocate for people working until they're 70, 71, especially in my business, because while I retired at 70, in arena years, I was really 90 years old. So that's what it takes out of you. But again, thank you all. Have a great rest of the day, and I appreciate the invitation of being here.
Thank you very much, Lee. We appreciate excellent words. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So, what I'm going to do very quickly before I call our moderator up, I want to frame this conversation so we can connect the dots, as my colleague told me yesterday. So, the California university system is the largest four-year public university system in the country, serving more than 450,000 students statewide. Here in Greater Los Angeles, the CSU5 campuses collectively educate tens of thousands of students each year and produce talent across critical sectors, including, this is where you take out your pens and your paper and everything else, so I want you to actually remember these critical sectors I'm about to name: aerospace, bioscience, clean and renewable energy, construction, healthcare, transportation and logistics, video production and distribution, and also, of course, as Lee mentioned so gracefully, sports and entertainment. These are vital that we understand these priority sectors. I will share with you that our young people are not aware at the level that they should be. They are not intentional about the programs of study they're going into, even though they are offered, right? So it's very important that you connect those dots for those young people so that they can fill these talent pipelines, because we hear from industry partners all the time about the widening gaps that they are having. So when you think about at a time when AI is transforming industries, global competition is intensifying, and our region is preparing for major moments like the 2026 World Cup and the 28 Olympic and Paralympic Games, the role of these institutions could not be more important. The CSU5 are not just universities. They are an economic engine, workforce pipelines, and anchors for opportunity for communities across Los Angeles. Today's conversation is about how we continue strengthening that impact through partnerships between education, industry, government, and community. With that, I'd like to now invite our moderator for the day, President and CEO of the LAEDC, Stephen Chung.
Thank you, Jermaine, and I am delighted to be moderating this panel. So at this point, I want to introduce and bring up our illustrious panelists. And I'm not going to go through their bios because you guys have access to their very, very extensive bio that's going to take about 30 minutes for me to capture. So instead, we're just going to get right into it. I would like to introduce and bring on President of Cal State University Northridge, Erica Beck, who is also the president, the head of the CSU5 system. Also, the interim president for Cal State University Dominguez Hills, Marianne De La Real. Interim president for Cal State University Long Beach, Andrew Jones. President of Cal State University Los Angeles, Bernicia Johnson-Eanes. And last but not least, interim president of Cal State Polytechnic University, Cal Poly Pomona, Iris Levine. Welcome. And one more note, as you're clapping, these are also the winner of the 30th anniversary Eddie Awards Strategic Partner of the Year that we awarded last November, where all five, actually we included Fullerton as well, all six Cal State universities in the Southern California region came together to be celebrated for the amazing work that they did. So one more round of applause. So Jermaine actually took my notes. That was actually my intro, I thought. So I get to now start. But before I do that, I want to again thank Dr. McCabe and Junior Achievement for hosting us, for all the amazing work that you do. And Lee, thank you for your inspirational story in terms of how you got there. It reminded me in terms of the intersectionality, how sometimes these connections can basically lead to new opportunity. So, and these chance connections, sometimes we don't even see until much later. So I want to share a quick story. You don't actually know this. You were mentioning that you make the tough decisions. So about 15 years ago, I was actually the cause of one of the big decisions that you had to make. But the quick story is this. This is how everything ties in together. The Staples Center at that point became a main attraction. We were trying to attract, I was working for the city of Los Angeles in the mayor's office, and I was in charge of international trade. And we heard the future president of China was going to be coming to the United States, and he selected Washington, D.C. and San Francisco. So we said, San Francisco? That's a cute city. But you realize that LA County is 10 million people, and San Francisco is what, 600, 700,000 people? And also, let us remind you that the largest Chinese population lives actually in Los Angeles. So how about we invite the future president to come to Los Angeles instead? And as a way to lure him in, we knew that he was a big fan of Kobe. So we invited him to the Laker game at the Staples Center. But the day of, after we've been doing a month of preparation, the day of, they wanted to move their location because they wanted the center court and the suites. But the thing is, the suites are smaller at that point. We had the owner suites, but the thing is, they didn't want it. They wanted to be center court. So last minute, the day before, they said, why don't you just break down these walls? So I was pressuring your team. Break down this. It didn't happen. We were able to fix everything. Everything is super happy. That was a big decision.
But I get brought up in the elevator with the president.
Yes.
One of the highlights.
That's, yeah.
But I think we're back there.
Well, I'll say this. Sometimes these stories are great, but the thing is, because of that visit, because of everything you did to create that space for us to use sports and entertainment as a way to attract international partners, that led to then Vice President Xi Jinping and then Vice President Biden to make an announcement. And he later on said that Los Angeles is the epicenter for U.S.-Sino relation. That signaled the Chinese investors to put in billions of dollars every year from then on until about 2016 that revitalized downtown in terms of the investment. So things that you did have created change for the entire community. And things that CSUN did created that change for Lee. So it's all connected, and that's why this conversation. And that conversation is so important, and that's why today, before we start, I want to go talking about LAEDC's vision statement that we announced, which is a coalition of one, an economy for all. How do we build a coalition to bring everybody together so that we act together as one powerful region? The 88 cities can come together, the CSU5s can come together. All these different groups are coming together, and now we're working together to drive the economy. So, that's the setting, and I'm excited to have our panelists here with us to talk more and share more. So with that said, I'm gonna go jump right into the questions, and I'm gonna rotate around so that we have about 50 minutes or so to basically answer about 6 set of major questions. So the first question for the entire group, I'll direct it through, is that the CSU system has long had a public mission rooted in access, opportunity, and service to communities. Across the CSU5, we see the mission playing out in powerful ways at each one of your campuses. How do you see CSU advancing public purpose in ways that directly strengthen the regional workforce and economy, especially since the economy is changing so quickly? Dr. Beck, you want to start first?
Well, I had a lot that I was going to say, but Lee Zeidman is a matador. I think you did all my work for me. And I got the soft shoe memo as well. I will just sort of, as chair of the CSU5, I want to say this is a really historic moment to have all of us here together. And I'm really proud of that. And I just want to set a context for the conversation about the kind of scale that the CSU5 presents. So collectively, we have 1.3 million alumni. Let me put that into perspective for you. In Los Angeles, if you look at the 20 private universities, including USC, and you add UCLA into that mix, and you put it up against the 5 right here, we are 50% of the graduates in this region. We are LA's talent infrastructure. Yeah, you can clap for that. And collectively, we generate $10 billion in industry activity, and we support more than 77,000 jobs. We're not used to having the kinds of conversations about scale that LA is gonna require and all of the challenges that we face collectively if we don't do it together. And so if you wanna change the future and facilitate a vital future for Los Angeles, you go where scale is. We are our scale.
Thank you. Another thing to mention, you touched on a very key point, is that one of the reasons why we have these conversations is to not only kind of share the best practices, but also educate the public. We record these and make it publicly available because people need to know about the importance of our talent development system. And for a long time, when people think of economic development, oftentimes they only think of the business side. For the economy to work, it has to be public, private, academic, philanthropic, labor. All the groups come together to make our economy, not just single one. So that's why, as you're mentioning, the CSU system becomes that driver for you guys are employers as well. You guys are driving the economy. President Jones, maybe you can also chime in there.
Sure. Thank you. Be happy to. So I think in terms of how we drive the economy forward, as Erica said, it's really about scale. It's a lot about scale, and you're looking at scale up here on the stage. At Cal State Long Beach, we currently serve a record number of students. We have over 42,000 students enrolled right now at Cal State Long Beach. We have over 400,000, actually it's around 410,000 alumni. And as you'll hear from everyone up here, our alums tend to stay within 50 miles of the university they graduated from. So we train people, we get them internships in the area, and then they stay here and they continue to work for our local economy. And I think that's just a very, very important fact. Our graduates from Cal State Long Beach lead in all kinds of industry areas: healthcare, engineering, education, creative industries. But the one that stands out that I want to just highlight for a minute is global trade and logistics. That's an area that we really are a powerhouse in, and we really contribute to the local economy. You know, Long Beach obviously is home to the Port of Long Beach. And the Port of Long Beach supports nearly 700,000 jobs in Southern California and 2.7 million jobs nationally. Long Beach State helps prepare the people that work in those jobs and drives that system. We really are the power behind that. We have a Center of International Trade and Transportation. We bring together industry partners like the Port of Long Beach, the Port of Los Angeles, Caltrans, other local agencies and regional planning agencies. And we work with them. We actually ask them, what is it you need from our students? And we tailor our curriculum to match what the industry needs so we could supply them with the workforce that they need to drive the future economy. So that's really something that we're proud of. We really lead in those areas, and we're always looking to strengthen those partnerships, work with our industry partners, tailor our curriculum, and hopefully get our industry partners to then hire those people when they come across the graduation stage, because they're turnkey and they're ready to go.
And this is also a call to action from the audience as well. We want you guys to have this information and become ambassador talking about this information, right? Because as we were mentioning before, LAEDC, for example, we do a lot of different reports. So last year with the trade and logistic report, talking about the entire industry, that basically as an industry, the trade and logistics sector drives about 902,000 jobs directly, and then supports about 2 million jobs in the Los Angeles County region. But it really focuses on Port of Los Angeles, Port of Long Beach, the trucking associations, the warehouse distribution center. It doesn't focus on the fact that the university systems also is a part of that solution. And so remember when we had, during COVID, we had about 100 vessels and ships outside San Pedro Bayport, and everybody, President Biden, Secretary Buttigieg, Anderson Cooper, was here like almost every other day saying, oh my God, what's happening? And then when we fixed the issue, working day and night, where were they? They didn't come back to thank us, and they didn't thank the educators here and the partners here that actually make that happen. So please use this as an opportunity to continue the message as well. I'm going to move the conversation along a little bit, changing the topic a tiny bit, right? And what we're seeing is one of the biggest challenges that we're facing in higher education today is really preparing students not only for today's job, but for the careers and industries that are still emerging and are changing. So how are the CSU systems preparing students with the skills, experiences, and adaptability? I think that's a key word here, needed for the workforce that Greater Los Angeles will require in the future. And as Jermaine was mentioning, I hope you guys all listened and took notes. What were some of the industries that he mentioned? Aerospace, thank you. Healthcare. Construction, right? Good. Sports entertainment, you guys took notes, that's great. So I'm gonna shift this over to President Levine. Can you talk a little bit more about what are how this campus is preparing for?
Well, as one of the nation's leading polytechnic universities, Cal Poly Pomona's Become by Doing philosophy is embedded across our academic experience. More than 43% of our courses include experiential learning, ensuring that students apply emerging technologies, including AI, in real-world contexts. 46% of our students are majoring in STEM fields. And so we understand that the pace of technological change demands continuous evolution of our learning environments. As one of our engineering faculty members stated, AI should be viewed as a tool that will elevate the workforce and not eliminate it. We know that people are concerned that it's just going to eliminate the workforce. It's going to be just a tool for us. So we are integrating AI across disciplines, not just in engineering and computer science, because every industry is becoming an AI-enabled industry. For example, Cal Poly Pomona is home to the region's only College of Agriculture, which offers both bachelor's and master's degrees. Now, this college is partnering with our College of Engineering to bring smart manufacturing into agriculture. Students from agriculture, engineering, and other fields are collaborating on real-world applications, such as robotics-assisted harvesting and precision farming. These efforts exemplify how Cal Poly Pomona is preparing students to thrive in an AI-driven economy by giving them interdisciplinary, hands-on experiences that they need to solve complex challenges of tomorrow. And I want to add that our College of Agriculture is actually feeding our students and our local community. The next thing I just want to bring to light is about CPP's Automation Lab and Center for Research advancement in smart manufacturing. And at the heart of this work are our outstanding faculty members. They are continually looking ahead, exploring emerging technologies, and grounding their work in one essential question. How can we better prepare our students to succeed beyond our campus walls? Their expertise and their foresight are driving our ability to stay ahead of workforce need trends. So, for example, our automation lab, and this is, thank goodness, made possible through the generosity of one of our alumni. This investment from our alumni helped catalyze a $7.5 million National Science Foundation grant to establish the Center for Research Advancement in Smart Manufacturing. These two initiatives are deeply interconnected, and neither would exist without the other. Together, they position Cal Poly Pomona as a regional hub for smart manufacturing innovation. So today, this facility is giving students access to globally competitive manufacturing systems and automated production. These environments that mirror real-world factory environments. Our students are not only operating these systems, they are learning to analyze data, anticipate failures, and design solutions for the next generation of manufacturing challenges. So whether it's aerospace, logistics, warehousing, or biomanufacturing, if they're looking to automate process, our students will be the ones that they want to hire. And the last thing I just wanted to bring forward is the CPP Liquid Rocket Lab and the UAV Lab. And I just have to tell you, I have visited this place, and I really want to just jump right in and learn how to drive one of these rocket labs. They won't let me yet. The CPP Liquid Rocket Lab and the UAV Lab came to fruition through our campus's engagement with our congressional delegation, as well as our partner campus, San Luis Obispo. As a campus, we secured over $20 million in federal funds through the Air Force Research Lab. Now, this funding from the Department of Defense led to additional industry engagement with Boeing. The Liquid Rocket Lab opened in April 22, and we are planning to open the UAV Lab this summer. The Liquid Rocket Lab provides students with an unparalleled, hands-on environment where they tackle real aerospace challenges and develop industry-ready skills. It's like they're out in space when they're in this lab. It's fantastic. Students are engaged in impactful research addressing next-generation space access. And they are working with the Air Force Research Lab, looking at unmanned vehicle systems for remote sensing applications and cybersecurity, as well as communication systems for emergency networks. It's pretty amazing the things that these students are doing. We're really proud of that.
Fantastic. Please feel free to jump in as well if you have anything to add. I want to make sure that this is an open conversation as well. Yeah, if not.
Well,
Yep.
here we are. Oh, well, I don't even know what time of day it is, so we're going to say good day to all of you. It's a pleasure to be here with my colleagues, and a real privilege to be up here. And I want to thank Lee, because I will call home tonight and say I need soft-soled shoes. I need a shoe budget for the longevity of my health. So thank you for that. And so at Cal State University, Dominguez Hills, we are a smaller campus in the footprint of my colleagues, and yet we sit at such an important geographical connective place. So we rely on the excellent work of my colleagues and their leadership and how we tie in to elevate the CSUs. And one of the pieces that we talk about in this particular space, Stephen, and you were recently on our campus, so knowing, right, that how we take an event and connect that event not only from our faculty, then to our students, to our community, to our alums. So we are a convening, a place that has parking and we can convene, right? So that's important.
Rub it in.
So what we talk about, though, and what we're really trying to, get across our institution is that our regional impact, as President Beck noted, right, is so key, and that trajectory is directly tied to how our institution is aligned with the talent development with the real labor market demand. So we have to be agile as an institution to be able to make that happen for our students. Our partners like Toyota and AAG, we're often in conversation with them, and they're very clear. They're not just looking for degrees. They know that we will produce students who are coming out with valuable knowledge, but much more to that, they need graduates who are work ready on day one, applied skills, industry fluency, sponge, be willing to learn that industry fluency. And what I talk about is the emotional agility. And again, Lee noted that emotional agility to be able to move on a changing landscape. And I think that's the part that we're working. How do we marry what we know is the knowledge with how a student then can move, not through that first job, but to be career ready on a landscape that is changing ever so quickly underneath us. So some of the ways that we do that is we have an innovation incubator. We're also one of the only CSUs that has an e-games academy. They're not just simply playing games, which I think would be fun anyway, but more importantly, right, they are designing their own tournaments. They are live, they're inviting, they're training, they're supporting young people into an industry that has many myths around it, so that they are using those agile skills of responding to that changing industry as well. And in our innovation incubator, what we call the hub of entrepreneurship and innovation. So there, the mission is to help students launch startups. Our ideal, and I'm going to put that out there if David Ochi is listening to this later on, our ideal place with that innovation incubator is that students are able to take their startups so that they can leave debt-free from college, so that they are investing also in themselves, right, in what is an affordable degree already, and so that they are starting steps ahead of what has been, I think, erroneous, but sometimes real question around affordability for higher education. So all of us across here are thinking about the ways in which our students are leaving us without that debt and ready to be your next employee.
And we're going to, you touched on a very important point that we're going to jump back into, but I see that President Eanes and then President Jones would like to also respond.
I'll be brief. Very similar to President Marianne, I don't know what time of day it is, but I will say that one of the things I want to be sure that we emphasize is that we are a collective powerhouse in the future workforce of this area in a way that we really want people to embrace. Our impact is staggering, but also maybe less recognized. When I arrived at Cal State LA, people said, "You're a hidden gem." It's just a hidden gem. Anybody that knows me, I don't do hiding very well.
That's true.
It's not my style. It's not my personality. So I put that on the table. And I will say that we are #1 in social mobility. We're doing good things. And we are...
In the United States of America. Make sure you say that part.
In the United States of America. and we are a Hispanic serving institution. And we also are trying to bridge this interesting care gap between people's understanding of the impact of technology. Just this past week, we partnered with IBM to have a hackathon on campus. We had, somebody went. Look, somebody went. Okay, all right. And the experience was to, again, make this conversation about technology, STEM, more approachable. In spaces that we need to have it not be the enemy, right? And so I always say I grew up with the telephone on the wall, a phone booth, the rotary dial. Yes, I'm that old. And so the students are living in this interesting space where they're trying to bridge their understanding of what they need to be with where it's going to go, and that may be unknown. right? And when you're dealing with a good amount of first-generation students from families of color who are dealing with the world we live in right now, there is an implication of being technology friendly. So what we try to do at Cal State LA and in the CSU is be very mindful of the intersection of care, culture, and forward thinking. We are forward thinking, we're educating the workforce of this state. We are very bold and mindful of that, and we have to be doing that. So, thank you.
Mr. Jones.
Thank you. Well, you asked about how we prepare our students for emerging industries. I think that's something all of us collectively together do very, very well. But I wanted to throw out just a couple more examples because I don't know that we always do the best job of publicizing that collectively as a system. And at Cal State Long Beach, like many of the other campuses, we partner with a lot of the industry leaders, Northrop Grumman, Boeing, because we want to learn from them what are the technologies, what are the new trends that you want us to train our students in. And then, as I said earlier, we align our curriculum with that. We've partnered and worked very closely with Space Beach, which is the city of Long Beach's efforts to become kind of a aerospace hub of California, if not the nation. And we've worked on several projects with them. Doing so has allowed us to obtain a $2.7 million grant from the federal government to actually enhance our rocket lab, because like you've heard, we actually have rocket labs. I mean, who would have thought it, but we have those. We have a group of students that have designed their own satellite, and that NASA has agreed that it will launch our student satellite into space sometime next year. This satellite is going to orbit the Earth. It's going to take pictures and study the effects of blue light on the planet, which no one has ever done before, but our students at Cal State Long Beach are doing that and leading the way. So there's a lot of really exciting things going on. And then back to the very practical on emerging technologies, going back to the port and global transportation, things that used to sound like they were off in the distance or the Jetsons, like autonomous trucks and autonomous delivery vehicles and delivery by drone and the use of AI in these areas. These are the things that we're training our students on today. They're getting hands-on experience with that in internships, and they're ready to enter the workforce with those skills.
And thank you all for jumping in, because you guys are actually answered a couple of the questions ahead of time, so we're going to jump back and forth. But I want to take a moment, because over the last 10 minutes, we go to a lot of these events and we go to a lot of panels, right? And you take in information, but I actually want the audience to sit with what the president just said right now. Between the mega events, to automation, to defense, to space, to emotional agility, to satellite launch, to moonlight, the content that's been created right now in just the last 10 minutes, I think it warrants white papers for each one of those topics. So sometimes I just want to make sure that the audience understands the depth of what they're addressing right now. We'll come back to it deeper. But I do want to say one thing about AI that President Levine, we were talking about earlier. This weekend, I was in the event where Google was partnering with FYI Labs, which is created by will.i.am. And will.i.am was talking about basically his investment into new technology and specifically agentic AI. And one of the things he said kind of shocked the whole group. Basically he said, right now, if you look across in this room, any room, everything here was imagined and created by human minds. And now we're replacing some of that with AI technology. And our dream has created, these iPads, these microphones, right? It's all us. But in the future, that might not be the case anymore. So if we're not prepared, we might become AI's dream. Whoa. And that's why what you guys are mentioning right now in terms of understanding what the future looks like and preparing for it is going to be so key. And I want to state one more point, is that we talk about industry partnership and employee engagement as a very important aspect. From an economic development standpoint, I just want to say, and I've shared it with some of you before, that I see our education institutions actually as a future driver. Because sometimes we're saying that we're responding to employer needs and adjusting to it. But by the universities creating these pathways, you guys are actually creating a talent pool that allows economic developers to attract companies to fit that category. So it's not that the education system, academia is waiting, it's that you guys are actually already leading that effort.
Yeah, it's such an important point, and you've said it to me a bunch of times, and it is one of the ways we're thinking. So I just want to give a specific example at CSUN. So we just opened this fall the Autodesk Technology Engagement Center in partnership with Autodesk, a $7+ billion software company that is the industry standard in engineering, construction, film, all of those. The students describe the building to me as a place where they can design, make, break, and repair anything. They're doing it alongside AI, and they're doing it both alongside Autodesk, which has invested heavily in the university, but also Apple is a major partner, more than $30 million engaged in our diverse pipeline, helping to envision what is the future of creative tech, what is the future of humans doing the things that only humans can do, working alongside these technologies and doing it for social good. Very small example. We have a faculty member named Dr. Peter Bichet, and he and his students are actually designing and building prosthetic arms. Prosthetic arms actually right now, the typical prosthetic arm costs $40,000, and often individuals who require one are turned down from insurance or too expensive. Our students have used both AI and 3D digital printing to construct a foot-controlled prosthetic arm that costs $300. They're trademarking it, they're working with business and industry, and they're thinking about additional features. So this piece of how we help to envision what comes next in partnership with business and industry, those are both Northern California companies, global of course, but Northern California global, to help us think about how do we facilitate what that looks like. We don't know the answer, but we can't solve it by ourselves without our business and industry partners.
Thank you for the future thinking and driving. I want to go back to something that President Villarreal, you're mentioning before about economic mobility as well. And as Lee was mentioning before, it just reminds me, so for some of you who know LAEDC, a lot of us come from LA, we have different experiences. So I grew up in a sweatshop here in El Monte and then have the opportunity to go to UCLA. So one of my first jobs was that I was a library shelver at the Charles E. Young Library, and I was very efficient. I was very innovative, so I wanted to basically shelf as many books as possible. So I put on my rollerblades and can basically reach up and down and just go put on my Walkman back then. I got fired because if you guys know, Charles E. Young Library is known to be haunted. So people will be studying, all of a sudden you have this figure to go whoosh, whoosh. So I scared people, I got fired. So story aside, that experience, and having work study and having the opportunity became a driver for me to be able to move forward, right? And the campuses itself is such an economic driver for our communities because so many of your institutions are serving local communities that sometimes, are struggling. So can you talk a little bit more so that the audience understands the true impact of the mobility that you guys are able to provide?
I'm very passionate about this, and I'm passionate about this because of the COVID impact that I don't think that people have totally embraced and studied and understood the impact of a pandemic on education in our country, right? And so I think that all of my partners here know their campuses' understanding of what it meant to be in person, back in person. What does it mean to the workforce? What does it mean to the students themselves? How do they navigate them thinking that they want to be more virtual all the time versus it not being the best thing for them emotionally or from their education standpoint, or the ability for them to be in the workforce in the future, right? Because again, they're living a different world from a technology standpoint, from an interpersonal standpoint than many of us did, right? And so we have to get outside of that space and figure out that and talk about it and be innovative with our partners and hear from the workforce partners, what are you seeing? What are the trends you're seeing in people's ability to be in person, to be virtual, to understand how we navigate the new space, but also how to be more valid and not threatened. And I think that that's what my colleagues are saying also. This is not a threat, this is embracing the future. How do we say to people that innovation is not a threat, that technology is not a threat, and that we are here to partner with you on the journey? And I feel very strongly about the fact, because I live with two people that are going down this journey. I won't talk about my children, but anyway, my point being, it's a real thing. It's a real thing, and I think that we see it in our employees. We see it in our upper level executives. We see it everywhere. People being able to digest what they've been through, and then how they come out of it in a way that they thrive. That's my concern.
I'm going to take a little different position that walks alongside that about who we are, right? So at Dominguez Hills, we are 62% Pell eligible. So think about that in terms of the students are asking, their first question is, can I afford this, right? That should not be a first question. Their first question should be, what will I do with the money that this institution is making available for me to go to college? So I think that's what we're all working on to do both better, but to also lead in that arena. So my campus is also 66% first gen. So double that in times the question, not only how will I afford this, but what happens to me next. So I'm using that because I think what is really one of the pillars of our strengths is that we talk about social mobility, we're number 5, but then what do we do with that social mobility? And it's about the future piece is that you have students who now have the economic responsibility, and I write about this. They have the economic responsibility when they leave. They're not just taking new money with them, they're taking a family, they're taking tios and tias and cousins and brothers and sisters into an ecosystem. So we think about the future, right, in terms of how our students come into our spaces. They're thinking about how they're taking whole communities with them along the way. And so the future piece has to be well integrated so that they're not wondering and asking, what do I need, that we're putting out in front of them, because they'll take it and go. They'll take it and go.
Just one punctuation, because going back to what I said earlier about we represent the 5 of us, 50% of the college graduates in Los Angeles, and 2/3 of our students graduate with 0 debt. 0. So the return on investment proposition of a CSU5 and CSU more broadly education, it is dramatic, and in addition, it disrupts intergenerational inequity.
One of the questions I was going to ask is really about the future demand, and many of you have already addressed some of those issues. So I'm going to switch the topic a little bit to not talk about what the demands are, but where are the gaps? Where do you see that there are gaps for the students, for the universities, or even for the industry in terms of how do we fill that gap? Dr. Levine?
I'm going to jump in just for a minute, because one of the things that is important to the CSU right now is making sure that students know what kind of career options are ahead for them. And we have a new CSU Forward, which is one of the plans for that. And our campus has designed a project which is called Future Paths. And I mean, we know, first of all, as many of my colleagues have said, that the majority of our students come from, families that may not have had a college experience before. They are first generation. They may be from historically underrepresented communities. So when we make a difference in their lives, we're not making a difference in one life. We're making a difference generationally. They are now going to be the first in their, families to be able to speak about having a college degree and be able to help others along the way with that. So we have this program which is called Future Paths, and that is, we have brought in dedicated a staffing team from Roth Staffing Company to work with our students. So they are actually embedded in our career center. And so the students come there and they are paired up with this dedicated team to help them find, whether it's their first jobs, whether it's a part-time job along the way, that is aligned to their careers so that they know there is an option for them. As they're working 20, 30, maybe even 40 hours a week while they're in school, they still have that part-time job that they can use that's career aligned instead of something else that they were going to have to switch out of in order to, to make it a career job. So we're really proud of this project that we have just started in January, and we know that we've got lines of students who show up every day to work with those staffing people who are in our career center.
Sure. So there's a lot of gaps out there.
Yeah.
I think we could all identify them, and we could probably talk all afternoon about the gaps. Healthcare, is obviously a big one that comes to mind, and we're producing 2,500 graduates a year that enter all these much-needed healthcare areas. But the one I want to piggyback on that Iris raised, I think is very important, and that's an extension of CSU Forward, which is, we're forming these thousands and thousands of industry partnerships, and we're trying as hard as we can to place our students in internships to get real-world experience, and we're succeeding at that, and they're doing that. But with CSU Forward, we need to focus in a laser-like way on getting them to cross that graduation stage and then enter that first career-related job. And that's where we need the help of our industry partners. We're training these people, we're making them turnkey and ready to go, we're giving them the real-world experience. We need them to get that career entry job. And I think my ask would be is don't get to know our students for the first time when you read their resume for a job. Come to our classrooms, partner with us on applied research, partner with us on different projects that are going on in the rocket labs and the healthcare areas and all these other places. See what our students do, learn who they are, and then you're going to be much more ready to step up and give them that job when they cross the graduation stage.
So let me go 10,000 foot view where I think the big gap is, and it's directly related to LAEDC's work. I think the big gap is that we don't have a regional coordinated vision for what the entire pipeline from all the way from K-12 into higher ed, into the workforce, and then beyond. And so I'm actually on the steering committee. Those of you who may have heard of LA Nursing 2035 initiative. It's one of the most powerful initiatives I've ever been a part of. It is co-chaired by the CSU and then Dr. Keith Curry, president of Compton College. And it is the entire educational pipeline, together with all of our business and industry partners in healthcare. We actually, for the first time, have a database dashboard, easy to interpret. Who's producing which degrees where? For-profit, not-for-profit, private, public, and then where are they going? And then the most important piece is, and where are the gaps? So it turns out we thought the big gaps were in we need more baccalaureate prepared nurses. Not true. In Los Angeles, we're preparing enough baccalaureate prepared nurses. We actually need more senior nurses because they're leaving the industry quickly and they're turning over. There are lots of instructive pieces that can help inform how we align. These assets belong to our county. They belong to our community. They're really important, but we don't have them well aligned within each other, much less with our business and industry partners. If we could do what we've done in LA Nursing 2035 in all of your identified high growth future demand regions, and we could build our curriculum and new curriculum around that, game changer.
Yeah. So Team LAEDC, you just got handed the work of our future. This is what we need to focus on. So, no, it's a great direction, and this goes back to what we started with, right? That coalition of one. We're trying to build the coalition system within the pipeline for all the education partners and talent development system, but we also need to make sure that we're able to create that pipeline for the employers as well. And right now, it's very difficult for the healthcare partners, Kaiser Permanente, to work with Northrop Grumman because they're not aligned in that sense. But if we're able to do it per industry and eventually bring the whole group together, it becomes a pathway.
I'm going to piggyback and amen to everything all my colleagues have said. I want to say that if you're going to make data-driven decisions and you're going to be outcome-driven, we need to agree on the data.
Yeah. Yes.
And I believe that that has maybe been a problem. Right?
Yes.
So I think if we could partner in understanding what data we're all looking at and be okay with whatever it is. Not everybody wants to make peace with the data. I understand that. It'll take a little while.
Yeah.
We may need therapy.
Yeah.
We may need dinner. We may need to be at the beach. But eventually, we're going to be all right.
Yeah.
If we focus on understanding what data we're looking at to really analyze how we're going to help this state be healthy and wholeheartedly dedicated to the workforce of the future. Thank you.
And I'm a social worker by training, so I can provide therapy over lunch as well.
I'm a psychologist, I'll help too.
Yes. We have a therapy session together. As we're closing out, there's still so many questions I want to ask, but I do want to talk another piece about the importance of the CSU campuses and CSUs as a whole. Besides employer engagement, the talent development system, you guys are also community engagement partners. You guys are such a huge part of the community that sometimes when we're looking as a whole, it's not reflected. Can you give us some example in terms of what that means to each of your campus?
So let me give one really powerful example. We have a program called the Voluntary Income Tax Assistance Program. We actually have the largest in the United States. We have 300 students who've helped more than 10,000 low-income taxpayers in the region file their taxes. It is incredible because the students are learning hands-on skills. They learn how to prepare these taxes and also work with clients. But also it's free of charge to all of the taxpayers, win-win. There's a new piece to that, the Bookstein Low Income Voluntary Tax Association. This is all out of our Nazarian College of Business and Economics, where our students actually are trained to support low-income filers who actually have disputes with the IRS and have to go to court. Our students are actually able to make legal arguments in court under the supervision of one of our faculty members who is an attorney. And like, you want to talk about real world experience, but also partnership within the community. And we work with lots of other agencies within the community. It's those kinds of regional community-based learning opportunities that are both a benefit to the broader community, but also allow our students to understand our communities better so they are ready day one, so they can be like Lee and have that grit and that preparedness to just continue to innovate. That's a small example from our campus.
Others?
I mentioned Space Beach earlier, which is a collaboration with the City of Long Beach, but again, on a local level, we have the Long Beach Community Internship Program, which is a very powerful engine for our campus, where we take our Cal State Long Beach students and place them in paid internships. And primarily we focus on graduates from Long Beach high schools. Yeah. We place them in local internships with local companies or organizations, and they get that experience and they stay. And they come back after graduation, and that's where they start. So it's a great partnership.
Thank you.
So we have a lot going on. And what I will say is that we are most proud most recently for our work with our prison graduation initiative. And our Project Rebound. We are nationally recognized for that work that has not been done a lot of places. Yeah. And so I am just so proud of it, and I think that we're just going to keep on building it out. And I invite everybody to come to any event we have for PGI or for Project Rebound. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll jump in with a couple of things. One is that we have a thing which is called CPP Launch, and we're working with the school system in the city of Pomona from all the way from elementary school, as you were talking about, Erica, to really understand what it is that the students need and to eventually get them, whether it's directly to CPP or through community colleges to CPP as well, so that we can help them really understand what does it mean to go on to college. That was one of the things. The second is we have what we call the Cal Poly Pomona Community Innovation Hub. It's a downtown center in the city of Pomona, where some of our faculty member and bring resources and programs to right into downtown Pomona. And the last thing I want to say is that we have this incredible program through our apparel merchandising and management program, where they're actually manufacturing things for local communities. Some of the things that they might want, whether they're T-shirts that have local groups in names on them or things like that. They're designing them, and they are actually producing them for the local communities.
So I'll add just, we have a very huggable campus, so lots going around in this small space of ours, but two on the K through, one on the K through 12, as we have this SICE, and yesterday, in fact, we had about 200 young people on our campus, and that is funded by Toyota so that they are getting the kinds of experiences that I've heard here, right, with the 3D printers. They are, creating their own. They're seeing themselves with Apple as well. They're seeing themselves as inventors, as innovators, right, from third grade through high school. So we have that, a pretty regular, incredible space. The other piece that I'll add is that our OMP, our orthotics and prosthetics, similar to Northridge, but, we serve, we are the only master's program that serves the 5-state region, and in that we'll be serving the Paralympics. So our students will be part of the Paralympics and ensuring that they are taken care of throughout that space. So we're everywhere all the time.
So we're out of time. So, but I usually leave the hardest hitting question to the very end. So I'm going to change the lightning round question to the hard hitting question. We were mentioning earlier that the CSU campus is also an economic driver within your community. When people visit your campus, which restaurant should they go to? Restaurants. Which restaurant should they go to?
Our Habit Burger truck. Our Habit Burger truck.
Habit Burger truck.
Oh my God, when they come to our campus, they need to go to the Ranch, which is a student-run restaurant in our Collins College of Hospitality Management. It's in the top 10 colleges.
Show off.
Enough.
I don't have anything that can beat
We're
that.
all going to the Ranch.
I love her though.
I just want to say, we were top 10 in the world, the Collins College of Hospitality Management. So Lee, you talked about hospitality. Our students know what to do, and they're going to get there.
Thank you. Dr. Villar?
Well, rude, I'm sorry. I love my sister. I need more student employment on my campus, so that goes to my envy and all that space. I won't say what restaurant. I don't know that I totally have one. That's probably why I was emoting that way. But what I will say is I think that East LA has a lot of undiscovered, wonderful places to eat.
Yeah.
And up the hill, we enjoy a lot of times. What's the name of it? Claudio, help me. Luminaries.
Okay.
That's where you go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was going to say, Chef Jose will make anything we want to eat. So there it is.
Perfect. Great.
I'm not picking a favorite. I'm not going back to campus picking a favorite, but I will say there are many amazing eateries on our campus. They're all great. My personal favorite, don't tell anyone, the Fry Shack.
Okay. Fresh. Excellent.
Sometimes you just need a French fry.
Now you know the culinary delights of what the campus can drive. So as we're exiting, President Beck, as the chair of CSU5, you spoke about the opportunity for these campuses to expand partnerships around research, collaboration, and service. What message would you like to leave with the leaders in this room about how they can engage with the CSU5 moving forward?
Yeah, well, thanks for being here. And I think the first piece of it is that we're ready to partner. We know that historically it has been complicated. And I think as my colleague said, we're the sort of best kept secret. We are no longer interested in being the best kept secret, but also we're trying to make it easier. So these 5 institutions all are part of the CSU5. We have a website, CSU5.org. There are CSU5 guides. Each of these campuses have guides here. If you're already engaged with a campus, engage more deeply. If you're not, reach out to them, look through the CSU5. But my biggest message would be everything that you need, we offer. We offer it all, and we offer it at scale. It is easier to partner with one organization to get to 5 institutions that represent half of the graduates in our region than it is to try and partner with the other 21. But also there's a public purpose to a public institution. For every $1 that is invested by the state of California into the CSU5, we return 7 in economic activity. If you count our alumni graduate earnings, that jumps to 33. So our future is inextricably tied. If you are looking for a research partner, if you are looking for an internship partner, if you are looking for ways to help reimagine what your business and industry might become, partner with us. We are making it much more streamlined, and we're here to think through. Our students don't study in LA, we are LA. So your future leaders are in our classrooms and on our campuses. So we're ready. Let's make sure we envision the future together.
Thank you all for your perspective, for your leadership, for your work. For the audience, you guys now know more about CSUs than you came in with, but this is the price of admission. There's homework for you. All of you are now asked and required to at least talk to one partner over the next week about some of the things that you learned here. And then as we're moving forward, this is the immediate homework. The long-term homework is this. The world will be descending on LA because of FIFA, because of Super Bowl, because of the LA 28 Olympic Games and Paralympic Games. This becomes our chance to basically talk about how the CSU system is LA. We need to show the world who we are and what we can do. So thank you so much for your leadership. Thank you for this panel discussion. Now I'm gonna pass it to Jermaine.
One of the main things that you all heard today was about partnership. That's really key. And so when we think about these priority sectors and all of the work that has to transpire to be able to really guide young people, students, into these different pathways and all of these different clusters, there's a lot of work that transpires to make that happen from an economic development standpoint, from a workforce development standpoint. So we have to come together, we have to partner, we have to pick up the phone, right? We can't just email, we gotta be engaged, we have to actually meet with one another. LAEDC, this is what we do. We bring folks together. We bring partners together that are not typically talking with one another, whether it's industry, whether it's government, whether it's education, whether it's community-based organizations. So again, thank you all for coming here today. I invite you all to join us in the foyer outside. Follow us at LAEDC on all platforms. Please visit www.ladc.org to keep up with all of our events and all of our amazing things that are happening all across LA County. Thank you.